Good evening, and welcome back to the weird and the wonderful with strange bones. As me. So we've got an interesting one designed for tonight. So welcome, Chris. You're the first one to join us. You were very quick. We've got quite an interesting live setup for tonight, partly based on a request from one of my viewers. So I think it's going to be a good one as we get things warmed up and allow some others to join in. Now, as you well know, if you've been following my lives, we sort of bounce around different countries around the world with a particular topic, looking at what different people say about different things. And we've done a whole lot of different stuff as we've moved around. It's been quite interesting. Currently, we are actually on archaeological finds that are weird or something in that regard. However, I got a question brought in from one of my viewers, which I decided before we start tonight's live, we are going to attend to that for our own interest and amusement. So welcome to you all, a little bit of housekeeping as it were. Remember that on this particular live, we only have one rule, and that's don't be rude. If you are rude or disruptive, we give you the boot. Yolandi, Noel B, welcome. We like to keep things friendly and fun because we have a great number of different people from different cultures and countries that join in, and we are not in the business of insulting anybody. We do not promote any of the things we talk about, and we do not denigrate any of the things we talk about. We merely give opinions based on experience. Questions get raised. And most importantly, I very much hope you will also raise your questions. So make sure you comment a great deal as we move through the different things. Like, share, subscribe. The channel relies on you to be able to work. So make sure that you do all the good things to make it work. And if you can, send plenty of gifts as well and lots of hearts so we can get this going. But most importantly of all, enjoy. This is about curiosity, about the strange things around the world, the supernatural, the paranormal, and all of the other interesting bits and pieces that are out there. So, absolutely. Pray for Charlie Kirk. Fair enough. Speaking of prayer, however, as I said, a question was given unto me because as we've gone through the different lives, our topics have covered a number of things. We have talked about ghosts. We have talked about cryptids. We have talked about curses. We have talked about witches. We have talked about aliens. And as we've gone through all of these things, we've looked at what may or may not be out there and whether or not they are really something you need worry about or what they might be. But somebody asked me, well, it's all very well to talk about these things and give our opinions on whether or not we think they might be real and all the rest of it. But we haven't really spoken about what's done to stop these things. And as some of you may know, I was a monk in the Catholic Church for 9 years, and I used to work alongside the chief exorcist for KwaZulu-Natal. Very interesting time. Learned a great deal from the man. It's very much not quite like you see in the movies at all. Um, but I do have a little experience. And it was asked of me, well, what sort of things do people use in connection with these things? And do they work? So I thought it would be an interesting thing to have a look at stuff that in the past was used, in the present is used, and talk about whether or not there may or may not be issues in regard to their use, what matter uh, matters in terms of their effectiveness, perhaps. There are all sorts of questions that could be had, and it's the questions that matter more than anything else because it's an interesting subject, and it varies very, very greatly. And as I say, we are not saying any of it's true or right. Some of the things that we will look at, you might say, but nobody believes in that rubbish. Well, that's possible, but at a point in history, certain people did believe. So you might say that vampires don't exist, we don't need to worry about it, and you might very, very, very well be right. But there was a time in history where a lot of people believed in them. And there were indeed things used to deal with it. There's a question from Dion. I'm sure that I'm cursed, bad luck for the past 34 years. How will I know? You'll forgive me for being cynical and saying that I strongly suspect it's life. Um, you're not the only one to feel that way. But there are, in fact, a number of ways to deal with a curse, funnily enough. We did an entire series on curses, and the answer, in short, if you will, is it depends very, very greatly on your particular religion as to what you ought to do. If you are entirely atheist, um, it's a bit of a difficult one because most cures in one manner of form or another rely on faith in at least a religion, whatever it may be, and then the steps to take to discover what it might be and how to deal with it will depend entirely on that religion, which makes it a touch difficult to give you a straight answer. By and large, a rule of thumb overview is you go to your local spiritual leader, whoever or whatever they may be, and you get them to give you a suitable blessing and to provide you with the means to counter any attempt of evil at you. That's really the bottom line. Um, it's a tough one, but we will look at a number of other things that may or may not work. Uh, Great thanks to Axtrovosi1 for the sharing there. Liam, hey, I hope you're in fine form. Welcome, welcome. Um, 3 to 4 years. Um, they, yes, ultimately, therein is the issue. So if you have a religion, Dion, whichever it might be, uh, go to your spiritual leader immediately because they will be able to assist. Failing which, part of what we're going to talk about is going to be touched on tonight, and maybe we will get an answer there as well. So hang on, there's something there for you. Do I game? I do certain games, I will admit. If we're talking on phone, I'm currently playing a thing called Evil Lands, which is quite addictive, and you run around and beat up monsters. It's quite fun. On computer, I will freely admit I'm a Fallout and Skyrim fan. Those are really the games I prefer, that style as well. Uh, I don't play online. I don't like online at all. I like things self-contained. So there we go. Extroversy. What are we actually talking about? Well, we're just getting started, waiting for a few people to join. But tonight's main topic is actually carrying on with um, pyramids around the world, what they might be, some of the theories about them, and so on and so forth. However, before we get into tonight's topic, I was told by somebody that we can't talk about the supernatural and paranormal and not talk about how to protect yourself from it and what are the different views that people have of how one goes about protecting yourself from it. Uh, so right away, we're going to look at that. I have no idea what you're asking there, Liam. You'll have to be clearer. But starting off, so what stops badness, be it evil, curses, witches, ghosts, or any of these things? Well, it does depend. So, primarily, as we have said, in any setup, specific religious prayers and mantras. So, if you're a Hindu, the Gayatri mantra. If you're a Muslim, then the Islamic surahs from the Quran. If you're a Christian, Psalm 91 and the armor of God, which you will find in the Bible if you read it. Why must we speak about this today and not tomorrow? Because I was asked to, and I said I would. And when I say to somebody that I will do something, I believe it is the mark uh, a of a decent person to stick to your word as much as possible. So that is why today and not tomorrow, because I said I would. So, Hinduism, who absolutely do, in their varying forms of faith, believe in evil and demons and more, provide for the faithful the Gayatri mantra or the Maha Mrityunjaya mantra, which is supposed to protect not only against evil forces but even negative energy, which I am told from Hindus that I know is very, very effective and very good for you. And there are those who will do it on a regular basis just to um, ensure that you are kept well protected in that regard. And I see that one of our very, very good friends is doing a live tonight. So, no, they don't want to join us now. That's sad. Nevertheless, Islam. Now, in Islam, the du'as, or prayers, like those from the Quran, like the Surahs al-Falaq and the An-Nas, as well as certain other specific verses, are very commonly used to seek protection against evil, the evil eye, and to ward off the jinn, which, as you know, is very important within that regard. So there are a number of official things within Islam. We know as well in Christianity, Ephesians 6 speaks of the armor of God, which includes the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, which are very much popular, done with varying prayers and with the recitation of the Psalms to protect against evil. But of course, while these are the main religions, they are not the only religions. And there are a lot of other things that people have considered important. So the first up are amulets, which will vary very, very much. Oh, huge thanks for the likes there, placeholder. I do appreciate it greatly. Amulets are objects, both natural and man-made, that have special powers, and we will go into this in more depth as well, of course, which ward off evil and bring good fortune. And there are all kinds of them all over. Anyone that knows anything about Greece, for example, would be familiar with that rather pretty um, blue stone with the concentric circles on it, uh, which is absolutely an amulet against the evil eye. I forget the exact name in Greek, but it's a very common sight. Um, so absolutely there's that. Then there are what they call atropaic items, which is a broad term for magic or items used to turn away harm and ward off evil spirits, the chief of which is salt. And we will talk about salt in specific because it is used in just about every religion around the world, interestingly enough. We've mentioned, of course, Psalm 91, Psalm 23. Um, Psalm 23 is probably, at least for the Catholics, one of the most popular. Yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me with thy staff and thy rod, and etc., etc., etc. So there is a ton in that regard. Now, in terms of atropaic magic, from the ancient Greek uh, apotreo, uh, apotrepo, sorry, my Greek is a little rusty, which means to ward off. So it's something which is used to deflect the evil eye. Atropaic observances may be practiced out of tradition, superstition, or good luck charms. I'm a little bit anti the use of the word superstition in my research here, simply because, really and truly, when you say superstition, you mean anybody that believes anything that doesn't fit to my religion, whatever that might be. So if it's my religion, it's religion. If it's your religion, it's superstition, which makes it just a touch rude. I mean, come on, guys. So yeah, but there are many of them. One of the most common that I think I've seen in so many cultures, it's frightening. Yeah. I say something, no, I promise, but I've got my fingers crossed, so it doesn't count. That's an exact example to ward off. Um, Knocking on wood is another one. Now, in ancient Egypt, we know that things like this were absolutely part of daily living. They didn't consider magic a thing done by certain people, but magic was part of the universe and everybody got involved. There were specialists as well, but absolutely it was something that was just what everybody did, and that was called Heka. And of course, um, very often in rituals of protection, you called on Taweret, the hippopotamus goddess, fertility goddess, or the lion deity Bes, who was the dwarf god. Now, objects used in the rituals facilitated communication with the gods. So you would have your wand gained big popularity. These, interestingly enough, were not your Harry Potter type ones. They were more curved like a boomerang. They looked a lot like a boomerang, carved with varying symbols and such. Then either a cowrie shell or something made to look like a cowrie shell was very, very popular, especially pregnant mothers and young children that wanted to ward anything off that might harm the prospective birth or the child. So Tawaret, also the likeness of the goddess was used. So you would even have special little jars that you used with water to pour um, essentially holy water, which is a feature of many, many religions right through to today and carrying on. Um, Pouring water is very much a basic. We know that in ancient Greece you had your uh, phylacteria. We get the modern English word phylactery from it. Basically, it's a worn item that's usually hung around the neck and lays on the chest, um, which affected uh, through the use of the chthonic deities and heroes who grant safety and deflect evil. Um, and there were specific ones for specific things. There were deities that were child nurturing, uh, amulets to ward off the evil eye, which are still used in Greece, as we know, um, and even small carved figures, um, which were used not only on people but on their animals. And in fact, there's a famous case of Pesistratus hanging the figure of a kind of grasshopper before the Acropolis of Athens for protection, which is really quite interesting. Another way, which is possibly a little gross, but people did, they would spit into the folds of their clothing. Um, Another thing which the ancient Greeks did, which in fact was done in China, and believe it or not, was done to Bruce Lee, of all people, which was to dress young boys as girls in order to avert evil from them until they were old enough and strong enough to defend themselves. And yes, Bruce Lee was called Jun Fan and dressed as a girl for a while when he was very small in order to protect him before his father took him to learn kung fu to ward off the evil. In Ireland, it's customary on St. Bride's Day to wear bride's cross, which is made from rushes hung over doors and windows to protect the household from fire, lightning, illness, and the evil spirits. Uh, in Southern Ireland, it's formerly the custom at Samhain to weave a cross of sticks and straw called a partial, which was fixed over the doorway to ward off bad luck, illness, and witchcraft. Now, eyes are often used to ward off the evil eye, and the exaggerated atropaic eye, or a pair of eyes, was painted on Greek drinking vessels called the kailikes, the eye cups, from the 6th century BC right up to the end of the classical period. They prevent evil spirits from entering the mouth while drinking. Fishing boats in certain parts of the Mediterranean still have eyes painted on the bows to ward off evil. Um, we know that there are things like the Yiddish expression kain en choreh, no evil eye, in modern Hebrew, which is the equivalent expression to knock on wood. Faces were popular. Among the ancient Greeks, the face of the Gorgon uh, were used to carve onto buildings to um, ward off evil. And in fact, the entire figure of a Gorgon holds the apex of the oldest remaining Gorgon temple, where she is flanked by two lionesses. And of course, it was mounted on the aegis and the shield of Athena as well. Good evening, Endless Thoughts. You were doing living. I didn't think you would join us, my dear, but welcome. I'm glad you are here. It is wonderful to have you with us. Much love indeed. Now, people believed that doorways and windows of buildings were vulnerable to the entrance of evil. So grotesque satyr-like bearded faces were carved on them. Churches and castles also would use both gargoyles or grotesques. If you don't know the difference, a gargoyle is not just an ugly carving on a building, but it's also a drain pipe, a way of draining water off the roof. Whereas a grotesque is just the carving that isn't a downspout. Well, that sounds very reasonable to me. Indeed, my dear. Did it work? I hope everything worked great. Now, the Irish Sheila na gig were used, and hunky punks carved to frighten away witches and malign influences. Figures carved on fireplaces and chimneys for the same reason. Some cases, just a geometric shape or a letter were used. And of course, we know, amongst other things, rowan wood, which in Europe is famous for warding off evil, was often used as well. And believe it or not, while it is basically now relegated to the foolishness of Halloween, uh, pumpkin lanterns, and believe it or not, originally they were not carved from pumpkins, they were made from turnips, which I've seen a couple of photos of original ones, and they are bloody ugly. They were used to ward off evil, because this is the season of Samhain, a time between times when the souls of the dead and other dangerous spirits were thought to walk the earth. Many European peoples had associations also with it following the harvest, so there were a number of things involved in that. Now, this is a bit of a rude one, so if you are under the age of 18, stick your fingers in your ears. But believe it or not, especially in ancient Greece and in Rome, I believe, carved phalluses, the phalloi, were considered to ward off evil. In Roman times, it was known as the fascinum. In ancient Greece, the phalloi. So, yeah, and there have been a number. Jez, hey sir, how are you? Was what? I doesn't know. A very interesting thing that you might find odd in the modern age. There, you know, from heavy metal and black metal, they give the, doesn't want to show. Try that. There we go. That sign. And everybody says it's the horns of Satan. Welcome, Jaden. How are you doing? Are you
Hey,
good?
sir, I just wanted to ask a question quickly.
Go for it.
You, you must you know about paranormal stuff, right? I think
Yes, yes.
it's a funny story, right? But I was little, right? I was sleeping. I saw a monkey in my closet, a monkey face. What was that?
Well, okay, there are a lot of possible answers to that, dependent on whether you want to have a scientific answer or an answer in terms of a specific religion, if you prefer, or a general answer, or whatever. Where would you like me to begin? So,
Okay, it's okay.
if we were to begin with a purely scientific answer, they are going to tell you it's what they call pareidolia, okay, which essentially means that something is bothering you and your mind made you see something that is there because something is bothering you. Okay, that's the easiest answer to give. All right, does that make sense? The second answer is going to be more dependent on your own particular um, religion. Some will say that there's a possibility of there being something there, which is also possible, in which case um, it could either be a ghost or a spirit. Either way, if you don't want it there, you have the appropriate religious item on hand, or the appropriate prayer, as we are starting to go through now, or the use of salt is practically universal for keeping evil out. And you put it around the doorways and windows or any entrances to the room, and it should basically cleanse the room. That's the short answer in terms of. Does
But
that
I'm
help?
living in a different house now.
Okay, so it's not where you are now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but like it was traumatizing because I got up and I threw a chair at it and I ran. I like ran out of the house. I went to my friend's house.
Well, yes, of course. Two things I can say then is number one, it's no longer your problem. That's a bonus. And number two, yeah, it is always very frightening. And one of the things that, speaking from my experience within psychology, the answer I would give is it doesn't really matter if it was real or not. What really matters is that you had the experience and it was frightening. So to you, it matters, if that makes sense.
But
Regardless
out
of
of
what, yeah.
but out of everything, it had to be a monkey face. Like what the? It could have been a something else, but a monkey. Why a monkey?
Well, again, it depends on different viewpoints, but essentially, many of these things tend to appear um, because it's what you are afraid of. So they will say that many evil things are able to sense what you're most afraid of and therefore appear as that. Um, and even if it's pareidolia, it's what you are afraid of and therefore it appears that way because it knows it will get the best response from you, if that makes sense. So the question really is what is it about monkeys that you don't like? Because if you can overcome
Nothing.
that,
I mean,
well,
their teeth is disgusting. So
well, yes, of course, they are a bit bitey and what have you. The other option, and this is now just me speaking randomly, is that um, if you live in South Africa, anywhere near the coast, in
I do.
the eastern side of South Africa, I can tell you that there were more than one occasion when I actually have had a monkey in my house. The little buggers getting everywhere. The vervet monkeys are awful. So you never know. It could have been a monkey.
No, but then I called my parents. They checked. Nothing's in there. They checked everywhere. They took everything out. They put everything back. Nothing was there, and everything was locked. They looked under the beds. Everything.
Well, then I must admit I'm not sure, but monkeys are indeed a problem. And I suspect, okay, now this is me speaking as me entirely, that there are, well, I believe that ghosts exist. I believe I have seen them, and I believe, insofar as it matters, that they can change how they appear to you. And it's quite possible that it was the attempt by something like this trying to scare you. And of course, if it was a ghost, then it could just disappear. So you would find nothing, if that makes sense.
Okay, so I was just imagining all.
No, not necessarily. Um, it could have been something pretending to be a monkey that was there, but then was able to disappear. The house could have been haunted. You do get haunted houses. I have seen them, and the spirits do appear in multiple different ways. And of course, as Endless Thoughts has pointed out, there she's seen monkeys in Pretoria last year running around the properties. And in fact, a week ago, I had one try and get into my house where I'm staying right now, and they can get through very small holes. So there are a lot of options. But the fact that you're out of the house now is extremely good and basically means that it's something that you need not worry about anymore. If it happens again, however, then I would worry.
Okay, so I can ask two questions now.
Yes.
Is it true that like if you look at a mirror at 3 to 4 o'clock, that's not you, that's something from the other side? And have you ever been through something that's paranormal and all?
Sorry, I missed the second half. You went very quiet. Have I?
Been through paranormal stuff?
Yes, okay, I will answer both of those. Second one first. Absolutely, yes, I have. I used to work alongside the chief exorcist for KwaZulu Natal. I was present at a number of exorcisms. I have seen multiple hauntings, and I've seen a couple of things that I can't tell you for absolute certain because how does one really know? But which I truly believe was some kind of a demon. So I have seen a number of things in my life, and some of them have been pretty freaky. So yes, I have. Is it true that if you mess with a mirror? Well, here's a thing. We will have to talk about mirrors and what and why they may or may not be a problem. So first of all, understand that when mirrors were first properly made, so we're not talking about the very, very early versions, which were made from polished bronze or something like that. The first glass mirrors were backed with silver. Now, as you know, there is a long history of silver being connected to the supernatural and the paranormal, both in positive and negative ways. Just from the fact that, for example, they say that it's the only metal that can truly harm a werewolf. It's connected to vampires, it's connected to witchcraft. It's used in Christianity, I believe in Islam. I'm not totally certain of that, but all its silver is connected to the paranormal. Take it as given. And it was said because of this, if you took a silver backed mirror and you called into it 3 times, because remember, three is a significant number. Some people say that it's not three, but it's 3 times 3. Um, Basically, what you're doing is summoning a spirit. So the image, even if it still looks like you, it may not still look like you. That you get in the mirror isn't you, it's a spirit. That's the theory. Now, in terms of that, modern mirrors are not backed by silver. So, would it still work? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
So can I just describe my mirror to you just to know that I'm safe?
You are safe because they haven't backed mirrors with silver in the last 50 years because it's too expensive. Is your mirror 50 years old?
Don't know.
Probably not. To back a mirror with silver would make the mirror cost at least a good 1,000 rand just for a small mirror. It's a waste to, and it doesn't make the mirror as good as the modern backing. The modern backing works better. So
Then because my mirror costed like 10 10 to 5,000. So
Wow, why would you pay so much for a mirror? How big is the mirror?
great, my great grandmother actually bought it long time ago actually. So
Okay,
that's what I don't know.
then it could be silver backed. It's possible. If it was your great grandmother, it could be, because then it would be a very old mirror. Um, in which case, understand that when it comes to spirits entering, one of the standard rules when a house is a home, it becomes protected. So the only way they can get in, unless they were there prior to, is if you invite. So as long as you don't stand in front of the mirror inviting something through, you're fine. It doesn't happen automatically.
Good, like, cause like first of all, I've watched many horror movies. I hate them because seen many stuff with mirrors and all of that crap. So
Absolutely. It's a popular belief and it is based in originating beliefs. But when it comes to movies, their interest is making the story good, not telling the truth. Remember that.
and doesn't it say that if you watch, it invites into your soul?
That's extremism. Just the fact that you watch horror movies does not invite evil in, uh, not even slightly. You
So
have
I'm
to,
safe.
you're safe. To
So
actually get evil into your life, you have to make a deliberate choice by doing something to let it in.
oh, like going to a haunted place, doing something dumb, and
Okay, if you go and play with a Ouija board, not knowing how it works or what you're supposed to do with it or anything, then it was your fault. You chose to go and do it.
I ain't doing that shit though.
Then you're fine. That's the point.
What about the Tokoloshi? I've talked a lot about the Tokoloshi. I'm scared of the Tokoloshi.
Well, again, being as it is a force of evil, it has to be invited in, unless it is directed. Coming into a home is very, very difficult for any kind of evil because it is a home.
So what about the salt where you put salt to all of the entries
Well,
like
we
the
will
windows?
carry on talking about that. So stick around and you will see it.
Sure.
Okay. Endless Thoughts is upset. Why are you upset? Are you okay, my dear? She has disappeared. This is not good. I will have to message her later because I worry greatly about this very, very nice person. I do not wish her to be upset. But
Do
welcome
you
to
know her?
Mara, who joined their live.
Do you know her very well? Endless thoughts.
She Endless Thoughts has been one of the followers of this channel almost from the very, very beginning. She is an absolutely amazing person, and she has her own channel, which I would very much encourage you to go and like and share. She does all very, very inspirational and nice things to improve your mood. She is a great person. So I worry greatly if she is upset. I know that sometimes she does get a little depressed with things. I'm not sure what has upset her right now, so it could be anything. I will message her later and make sure she is all right. But she is
Can I
very
just ask?
much. Yes, you can ask.
I forgot what's depression. What is depression?
Depression is when you are sad and you can't get out of it.
No, I got 30. I got 36 out of 37 on a depression test. I'm damn.
Okay. Well, don't let it get you down. Always think of the positive. And I can tell you now, the posts that Endless Thoughts put up is always very positive and sweet. But as we start on, the next item to speak of, which you might find useful, is in fact mirrors. Mirrors and other shiny reflective
Yeah.
objects have long been believed to ward off evil unless you deliberately use them to call in. So actually, mirrors are good. Um, very often, mirrors were used to even decorate clothing with shiny things to ward off evil. Witch balls, which are shiny brown glass ornaments, like your ones that you hang on a Christmas tree, were originally to ward off evil from a home. And the Chinese bagua mirror is used to ward off negative energy. So, in general, mirrors of any variety send evil away. Um, we know that shiny objects in Judaism, such as the Halsgezeige, which is a textile sort of neckband used in birthing customs in the Franco-German border region, have shiny coins or colorful stones sewn into it that ward off the evil eye. And they were also worn in childbirth
So
for,
can I ask another two things?
yes, ask.
First one is how long have you been doing this paranormal thing? Like since when have you learned? And is it true like if a mirror is facing another mirror, it's like a portal? For like example, a person that messes around with demons and haunted stuff, and their mirrors are like one mirror to another mirror and they're facing each other. That's like make a portal for evil spirits to like come in and all that.
Well, I will tell you two things in regard that. First of all, if you're talking how long have I been doing the live, not that long at all. How long have I been interested in researching stuff like this? Maybe about 35 years.
Damn.
So, yeah, I've been doing it a while. I've been interested in it for a very long time. Um, so, absolutely. Now, in terms of the mirror, I send you straight back to what I said in the beginning. If you deliberately take two mirrors and put them opposing each other with the aim to create a portal, you are absolutely engaging in something that is deliberately trying to call something in, and
So it's
therefore
true.
it's your fault. Well, it's about intent as well. If you try to call something bad in, you will probably get it. Placeholder,
Okay,
welcome.
enough of my questions. Let them talk.
But thank you for those questions. Placeholder, what is your comment on all of this?
No, I don't have a comment. I just clicked on the request button to see what's happening.
Good stuff. Yes, I don't know what's up with Endless Thoughts. I'm worried about her. I know that she's been having a tough time at the moment, so I will message her later and check that she's all right.
It's probably not my comment that upset her, right?
I don't think it's us. I think it's something out of. Uh, though Charlie Kirk, remind me who he is again.
He's a right-wing conservative there in America. He was
Oh,
shooting.
yes. I know exactly who you mean now. Yes. And he's the one that is quite unapologetic and he will openly debate anybody. That guy.
Yeah, well, today was probably his last debate.
Uh, was it a terminal shooting or just
Well, I saw a video. He was shot in the neck, and lots of blood just ran out, just spilled out like an open hose pipe.
that's not good. Yeah, look, I must admit that in terms of, well, I do admire his stance in that he's willing to take anybody on and argue, which I think is the right way to do things in one regard. I think it's also fair to say he didn't make a lot of friends doing it. Um,
No, He made lots and lots of friends, but he also made lots and lots of enemies.
Yes, I suspect it may very well have got somebody riled up enough because he was kind of very in your face, which is true. So, well, we can only wish him well and that good health and such because, yeah, that's a bit harsh. I wouldn't wish injury like that on anybody. So, yeah. But as we move on, the next most famous way to ward off evil, and here, this is one that I never quite am certain of. Okay, we all know that a horseshoe above your door will get rid of evil. But now here's the question. I can literally find as much argument one way as the other as to is it points up or points down? And the only good answer I can give you is that it's irrelevant. It's the fact that it's made of iron because it originated in countries that believe in the fairy, and the fairy are said to fear iron. So, that's the answer. It's the fact that it's made of iron. And if you were a poor person back in the day, the piece of iron you would be most likely to get your grubby mitts on was going to be a horseshoe. So, now we know that they've come into modern culture and appear all over the place as good luck tokens on key rings, usually made out of plastic and stuff like that. So there's that. But I suspect it's not the shape itself that matters, but that it is made of cold forged iron, which a horseshoe is. Now, with that, we have objects buried in walls, which, yeah, I don't advise. It sounds a bit dodgy, ripping up your house to put things in, but especially to protect against witchcraft, including horse skulls, uh, mummified cats, concealed shoes, as in the ones that you will wear, and obviously witch bottles. All of it sounds a bit gruesome, and I wouldn't advise you putting skulls in your walls. It might lead to varying amounts of difficulties. However, there are things such as witch marks. So, witch marks are symbols or patterns scratched on walls, beams, and thresholds to ward off witchcraft or evil spirits. Many of them are flower like. So, imagine a circle with a geometric pattern in that looks like a bit like a flower, like a hexafoil. That would be a witch's mark. So that will ward off. Of course, the other thing which is very popular is the intertwined letters V and M, or a double V, which refers back to Virgo Virginum, or the Virgin Mary, who is often in Christian circles called on to ward off evil. And then overlapping circles are quite popular as well. Then, interestingly, and you might not realize this, a dream catcher. Well, they're not actually there specifically for dreams at all. They are literally there to catch those things that move in dreams, such as skinwalkers. So there. So dream catchers are designed to get rid of skinwalkers. Bet you didn't know that. So yeah, hanging those up is a warding against evil. Now we know in other situations, crucifixes, very popular, silver bullets, wild roses, garlic, and more to ward off things like vampires. Now, here's a question for you, and I'm not saying this as an attempt to get at any particular religion at all. But, okay, first of all, we've got a lot of different religions in the world. This is a fact, right? So, what would make, say, the sign better than a crucifix or not? How would we know which religion works? Does it depend on the symbol, or does it depend on your faith in the symbol? In which case, we have a second problem. If it's your faith, then what happens if I don't know, having a bad day, or I'm not particularly in that way? I mean, even when I was a monk, I will tell you there were days when my faith was great, it was fantastic, I was top of the world, and there were days, because I'm human, same as everybody, when I was just at that point that I couldn't believe. Because we're human, we go up, we go down. Does that mean that on the good days I had plenty of defense, and on the bad days, not really? When it comes to religious symbols, where does the power for it come from? I'm not really sure. Now, it's a valid question, I think, because, if I'm basically nothing more than a lapsed Christian that maybe goes to church once every 2 years, does it mean that me using a holy cross will not be as effective as a priest using a cross? Because their faith would be much more than somebody. You see where I'm going with this? Is there a difference, and does it matter? I don't know the answer to that, but obviously there is that. Now, silver bullets. Silver bullets are an issue. Now, as we were talking about the silver backing on a mirror, that same understanding, the silver, is what goes into silver bullets and why they have a particular ability to harm evil. Okay, wild roses is the English equivalent of garlic, which is mostly a European thing in its origin. So wild roses ward off evil because of their thorns. Garlic, I'm not sure, possibly for other reasons. And I'm not sure if it extends beyond garlic to the other family of the alliums. Not too sure. Are onions good? Much thanks for those likes there. Thank you very much. So there's definitely that. Now, the Romans thought that the biggest way to get bad luck was to be envied. So the way to avoid envy is to make people laugh, which sounds like a really jolly way to ward off evil. So they would bring up all kinds of things that were considered to be funny, which included large phalluses, deformities, because in Roman times that was considered funny, probably not good. Pygmies, believe it or not, were considered comical. I don't know why. But anything that was considered funny, because if you laughed, evil would go. Now, we also know that figureheads are an important way to ward off evil, and that's why many sailing ships are said to have a figurehead on them. Now, there were times in certain cultures that to bring blessing on a voyage, you would take a slave and sacrifice them and tie them to the front of the boat. And it may also have been that the figureheads were a replacement for that, because obviously the slaves didn't like it very much. So there's that. Now, another thing which was said to ward off bad luck, especially if you were going on a journey, was to bend or break knives, daggers, swords, or coins This is from Celtic times, and dredging under the London Bridge in the Thames, they found a whole ton of these things. And of course, the London Bridge is the exit out of the river into the estuary and then into the sea. So that's where it would have happened. So there you go. Now, that's not all, for there is more. And we are going now to the importance of salt. Why salt? Now, salt's been used in just about every religion world over as a ward to barrier against negative energy, evil spirits, or anything of the like. And this not only was used, you may not realize it, but if you're a Christian, holy water is made by not blessing the water, but blessing salt and putting it in the water. We also know there's the tradition of throwing salt over your shoulder to repel the devil and to ward off bad luck. It's been known as a source of purity for centuries, and indeed in real life in science. It is used to kill bacteria and preserve foods. So absolutely there is certain truth in that. It is said to ward off dark beings and spirits. It is used to this day in Christianity and has been since way back when for divine purity. It's also very, very valuable and is said to actually bring goodness to those that use it, which is part of the reason why it's so important to get it in your food, that it brings in the goodness. It is used to make protective circles in exorcisms. Even in Christianity, you might not believe I've actually got a couple of pictures to have a look at, which we are going to pull up right now for your personal amusement. Now, this first one that we will show you, if I can find it, because after all, nobody said I was good at what there we go. This, behind me here, is part of a modern Catholic exorcism kit. So, in the picture, you will see those two plates, which are used for holding the Holy Eucharist. There are two candle holders and candles. You light the candles. Candles are also very important. You have your vial in the middle for holy water. You obviously have both your ritualis on the one side and your Bible on the other. And though you can't actually see it in the top there, that is a crucifix, the symbol of purity. And the tiny little metal thing on the far left is called an aspergillum, and that is for sprinkling holy water. And that is a modern exorcism kit for the Catholic Church, which is used to this day. Now, along with it, we have varying other ones, which are even more exciting, not all of which are as real as you might think. And some of them are a bit out of hand. But kits like these were absolutely used back in the day. So here we have one that has a number of items in it, including a pair of binoculars, because this one is for hunting vampires, werewolves, and evil. And you've got varying herbs along the left-hand top, which are used against such things. To the very far right, those are silver bullets. On the blue in the lower portion is a crucifix and a pistol for firing said silver bullets. To the right of them, of course, is a Bible. You have your candles for the exorcism ritual and crucifix at the top, and a box of matches. But you also have, for the more extreme cases, and this is why I say that don't try this at home, children, that is a knife and an axe, possibly for the removal of the head of the vampire or the werewolf to ensure that it stays dead. On the far lower left, you have holy water, because you're a good person, of course, we assume. We hope. So these kits could get pretty out of hand. And just to show that this was not merely a Christian thing, let us add for you one more example, though I believe this was a modern reproduction-y type kit. Was it that one? No, that's got the crucifix in it. I think it might be that one. See if that one does it. There we go. This is a witch's kit for hunting evil. And again, we have the knife, the pistol, the various herbs. You don't have the crucifix, of course, but you do have all the other bits and pieces for putting evil to rest. So clearly, it could get quite militant in the past. So salt, yes, was always involved. And in fact, I think if you look the second from the right of the bottles in this picture, that's salt. Now, there were varying things added to salt. Placeholder, I can hear in the background, so I'm just going to mute you. You're not being told off. I'm just doing it just for quietness there. But you are still my man. Don't stress. So salt has been used for many, many, many centuries, and it's in fact a common belief that evil witches and bewitched animals cannot eat things with salt in it. So if you're possessed, you can't eat food that's been salted. So it was added to make sure that, you know, you were okay, you were a decent and non-possessed person. Salt has sanctity to it. It's still used in so many different religions purely for that. It is marked into the candles, blessed candles, blessed salt. Carrying a pack of salt is said to ward off the evil eye. And often people put salt with a knife to ward off evil. Putting it in your shoes stops evil from following you. Throwing salt around your doors or windows and salting it with your broom would also ward off evil. So, yeah, salt, absolutely number one. In just about every religion ever, it's advised salt will protect from evil. So maybe there's a good place to start. Where did it come from? Well, pretty much everywhere. There is almost no place that salt is not considered holy in, and it's used in all kinds of religions and witchcraft to create circles to ward evil off and to protect you. So, yeah, absolutely. Now, can you just use table salt or must it be special salt? From what I understand, any salt will do, blessed being better, if that helps. Um, so, yeah, salt is number one. But salt is not alone. We also have a number of things usable to protect you from varying forms of evil, which includes herbs. What kind of herbs will assist you in that regard? Well, tulsi, holy basil, as it's sometimes called, even in Sanskrit, it was written of as the Holy One. So these are Indian ones, in case you want Indian healing herbs. It's been considered to be a divine herb for like ages. It's a sattvic plant, which means that it draws down clarity, light, divinity, spirituality, compassion, intelligence, and wisdom. It's absolutely very, very good. Use it in water for holy water on altars. Absolutely. Eat it. Absolutely. It's super good for you. It also is very good for your health. So, right off, that's your top choice for the Indian herbs. Neem as well, very, very good. I'm not entirely certain what neem is, to be honest, but you can buy it in town if you go to the right shop. It's sacred and gives all kinds of life giving properties and was said to have received its healing powers through Indra, the king of celestials, who spilled a pot of ambrosia on a neem tree, blessing it with the power to remove all disease. So, absolutely. Chamomile. And I know chamomile tea is popular among many people. I think it tastes like um, bum, but that's just me. I can't stand it. But hey, maybe I'm evil and didn't know it. But no, it was used by the Indians, the Egyptians, Romans, Greeks, and other Europeans as an incredible, powerful way to ward off evil, bad luck. It's a barrier to negativity of all kinds. It's a blessing and a protection to the home. It's relaxing, soothing, reduces anxiety, and helps sleep. So there you go, chamomile. Peppermint is another one which is said to cause evil to flee, whether it's planted by your doors or used as a scent. And of course, it is very nice as well. It smells nice. And believe it or not, the rose. Yes, roses and rose scent is considered to be very important. It comes to the heart chakra, to Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Um, I know that it's considered really, really good in the Catholic Church if your rosary is made from rose wood as well. And they were very expensive and very popular. I used to have one that my mother bought. It smelled amazing and absolutely a beautiful, beautiful thing in that regard. But they are not the only ones. Um, there are plenty of others. So, sage, white sage if you're Native American, but all sages of different varieties. I know that what we now refer to as smoke cleansing, because to sage a place is apparently culturally only appropriate for Native Americans. But normal sage, not white sage, was used in Europe and in Britain for centuries to banish negative energy. So, sage in all its forms is apparently good. Rosemary is another one that purifies and protects, and especially good as a body wash or burned as incense or carried in an amulet. Lavender, another one, a soothing one that wards off evil. Carry it in a sachet, add it to your bath, burn it as incense. Basil, bay leaves, St. John's wort, all for much the same thing. And then, of course, garlic. Now, garlic is said to be absolutely, and my family adore garlic in food, which seems to imply then that if any vampire comes within about 30 yards of our house, they'll probably keel over dead because every meal has garlic. So I'm pretty covered, don't you worry. Rue is another herb, angelica, mugwort. But mugwort you have to be careful with because it's also associated with divination and astral travel, so should only be used by an expert. Similar black cohosh, powerful, but don't mess with it if you don't know how to use your herbs. Um, how do you use herbs? Burning, carrying, wearing, bathing, sprinkling, drinking, and more. So make sure that you know the right use for the right herb because you pick the wrong one, you might do damage to yourself. So get good professional advice in that regard. Um, We know that you can use a lot of different things. Alder wood, absolutely. Planted alder trees in the garden are very, very good. Allspice. Apples, interestingly enough, are said to be powerful to bring love and goodness to your house. Ash, definitely. Bay leaves, definitely. Blackthorn, very powerful, but be careful because that's also connected to exorcisms. Should be used by an expert, they say. Um, Borage, I still don't know what borage is. It grows in England. Whatever. Um, we know that rowan wood absolutely was planted in churchyards for many, many centuries to ward away evil and witches. So absolutely a whole ton of herbs from all over the world that will work for you. We do know that the top ones in the West, I would say, is probably sage and chamomile. In the Americas, white sage, chamomile, artemisia. Um, in the Indias, neem. In Britain, and believe it or not, in South Africa, around here, hawthorn. My word, does it grow everywhere. Huge hedges of it. And not only is it ward off evil, but it repels vampires quite severely as well, apparently. So, yeah, we're in probably the least vampire affected place ever, given the amount of garlic I eat and the fact that right up and down, all around my area, are hedges of hawthorn, which wards them off. And yarrow. Yarrow wards off a lot. If you're specifically worried about shapeshifters, wolfsbane, of course. But the top British one is rue. But it does smell like yuck. Be warned in that regard. So make of that what you will. Moving along, not only herbs, stones. Varying crystals, stones, and minerals that will sort you out. Black tourmaline is very popular. Hematite absorbs negative energy and grounds you. So if you think you've already been cursed, wear hematite. Tiger's eye will protect from the evil eye. So if you're one of these lucky people to have a stone beaded necklace, get one that's black tourmaline, hematite, tiger's eye, and you're pretty much sorted. Malachite is said to also be very good for warding off evil. Carnelian, especially if you're a Muslim. The Prophet wore a carnelian ring, stating it would guard against evil. So there you go. Turquoise. Many cultures have considered turquoise, especially in the Americas, warding off evil and bad fortune. Amethyst, which is such a nice one. Pyrite not only protects against negativity, also draws wealth to you. And most importantly, the one which I do enjoy, jasper, which not only wards off evil, it wards off evil fate. So, yep, right there's a good set for you. Your different cultures. Okay, so let's just save that because we can, and go there so we can put it up so you can see it with eyes. We've mentioned, amongst other things, that when you want to get rid of the evil eye, there it is, the Greek eye symbol, which wards off the evil eye, and that one on the other side is a Roman one. So those naturally, and I believe they're called, let's see, the Nazar. There we go. I knew I'd get it eventually. So, used all over the Middle East, the Mediterranean, and Turkey, a blue bead with the design of concentric blue, white, and black rings like an eye, which wards off the evil eye and absorbs any strong evil impact. So then you have the Hamsa. The Hamsa is used in the Middle East and North Africa. It is a hand-shaped amulet with a central eye for warding off the evil eye. Your Mjolnir pendant for you Vikings out there, usually made of silver, there you are, which wards against evil spirits. A scarab beetle, ancient Egypt. The omamori, which comes from Japan, which you can get from a Shinto shrine or a Buddhist temple. The red string, used in China, Japan, and Korea, worn on the wrist to ward off evil spirits. I believe in Hinduism, they also have a similar thing. The horseshoes from evil European cultures, from European cultures to ward off evil. Iron is the important point there. Feathers and animal claws, usually from Native American and certain African cultures, to make charms and talismans to ward off evil. And if you are Jewish, the mezuzah, which is a scroll containing verses from the Torah, placed in a case on doorposts to ward off evil. So you have a whole collection of possible items you can use. So if that doesn't give you a background, then I don't know what will. I think that we can honestly say that's how you do it. But we need to at least make a small start on today's topic. I think I've done fair justice to what wards off evil, as I promised I would, and I did. But we are talking about pyramids and why pyramids, and where pyramids. We all know Egypt, and we spoke about Egypt in the last live. But today I'm going to tell you about the pyramids of Russia. Yes. Now, some say these include naturally occurring pyramids, maybe, in the Kola Peninsula and the Gornaya Shoria that are debated as being man-made, which might be pre-Egyptian. Then there are modern fiberglass pyramids built by Alexander Golod near Moscow and other locations that are supposed to have all kinds of power. So let's get going. So, first of all, the stone formations in the Kola Peninsula are absolutely pyramidal. Now, are they man-made or not? That's the question. There's a lot of argument still going on in that regard, and the problem is they're in a very, very, very remote and cold place, which makes it damned hard to find out. Now, the modern pyramids, which perhaps are the other side of it, were only built in the 1990s by Alexander Golod, a mathematician who supervised the construction of these large fiberglass pyramids. And they are promoted as they're supposed to have healing and positive energy generating qualities. And many visitors have reported positive effects to health and well-being. But scientists have absolutely said that this is rubbish. There's no such thing. So, well, that's a bit of a problem. However, let's talk about the Kola. Now, let my notes get. get in place. So this is apparently not far from the Russian and Finnish border. There's a whole complex of stone pyramids. They look like the pyramids of Lozorzeria, which were studied by Professor Alexander Barchenko. And they originally were claimed as being the remains of ancient cultures that date back to a period far older than the Egyptian civilization. Now, these so-called buildings were studied by a doctor of philosophy, and his statement shocked the scientific community uh, insofar that he claimed that this was proof of Hyperborea, a Atlantis-like sort of place, except Hyperborea was never on an island, if that makes any sense. But the same kind of super advanced civilization, beautiful place, rah, 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 rah. I don't know. Could it have been? So maybe. According to various research, the age of the pyramid is about 100,000 years BC, which kind of seems to be pushing their luck in that regard, in terms of could they be? It's a tough one. According to the stories, so a Russian expedition attempted in 2007 to investigate the Kola pyramids, including experts from the Pulkovo Observatory, the press secretary Sergei Smirnov, who is a candidate of physical and mathematical science, Valery Chudinov, the professor of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences, and a whole ton of experts in their field, shall we say. And it turned out to be a hell of a trip. It was more arduous and risky than they had thought. The Kola pyramids are in a secluded area, and even the inhabitants that are there are pretty tough, and the local people who are Lapps are very hesitant to show them the way through. They viewed the pyramids from a helicopter, but not all the buildings were visible from the air. The chopper nearly crashed. But they made it to the old site and studied the buildings. Now, they say that there are two at the site, 50-meter high structures linked by a bridge aligned to the cardinal points. We carried a unique device, the most sophisticated geophysical equipment, the Oko georadar on the expedition. Like an X-ray, the instrument shines through the interior space of any item. So the geologists reached an unambiguous conclusion. The heights were made by man. They are not natural, the product of human hands, and inside are gaps and undiscovered rooms. Aha. The function purpose of these things is as yet unclear. They may have been utilized as an astronomical observatory. In ancient times, they might have been sacred ground. All we know is that they are older than the current Egyptian pyramids, but we don't know what they're for. They are a lot smaller, to be fair. But the point is, we have yet another culture that for some reason these human beings seem to think they gotta build pyramids. Why? So, one of the conspiracy ideas linked to all of these is what we can call the Tartarian Empire, which is sort of the Russian version of Atlantis, an advanced and technological empire that existed long time back. And of course, with conspiracy comes more conspiracy. So the Vatican concealed much of their knowledge of this, they know. There are hidden underground cities and evidence of Hyperborea that exists there. But this is all being hidden by the rest of the world to deny the historical superiority of the Russian people. You may make of that what you will. Is it true? I don't know. The core idea is that there was an ancient, lost, technologically advanced civilization called Tartary that spanned much of Central Asia and Siberia, and it's now been erased from history. A related concept says that there were great mud floods in the 18th or 19th century linked to this. They suspect then that this wiped out the power of these important Russian originating people. So, did Hyperborea exist? Well, the only real serious attention given to it was by Arthur Conan Doyle in his novels about Conan of Cimmeria. So, make of that what you will. Some groups think that these things were true, nevertheless, and that there are Siberian megaliths out there that very, very much do matter, and are proof, of course, then of the superiority worldwide of the Russians. Tartaria is that area to the north there, which may have included regions covering even over central Afghanistan, northern Kazakhstan, all of Mongolia, parts of China and Russia, and more. And that these guys were like the great. They had incredible technology, everything that in the West people tend to talk about Atlantis and their great abilities. Exactly that, just the Russian version. Is there any proof of any of this? No, not really. It could be that the pyramids found there are indeed built by people, but given that we know nothing about them and it's almost impossible to get there, there is no proof of who built them as yet. So that gives us nothing. Does it matter? I don't know. They say that the few evidence of these things were deliberately bombed during World War One and Two to get rid of the evidence, so to speak. Can we say it matters? Probably not. We do know that there are all kinds of weird finds that are very real. That if you're talking about archaeological finds, absolutely. There is a massive carved wooden statue that managed to get preserved, known as the Shigir idol, and they reckon it's 12,000 years old, covered in mysterious symbols that nobody can actually translate. That is a real thing. What does it mean? What is it? Nobody knows. But it's there and it's weird, and therefore it's wonderful. There is also the Russian Utsi, if you will, the Ukok princess or ice maiden, which is a 2,500-year-old mummified body of a woman discovered in the frozen Ukok Plateau in Siberia. And scientific techniques are slowly unraveling what the whole thing is. Simply because who the hell was she? How did she get there? What can it teach us? But there are also stories that she is cursed. But we don't know, so we need to find out more. There is the metallic screw of Kamchatka, which is a couple of thousand years old, but it looks like a machined metallic coil, like a screw. Why would there be a screw that's thousands of years old when screws were not developed? Unless there was an advanced series of peoples there, which is pretty cool. There is also, and this is genuine, a 45,000-year-old carving that was carved from the tusk of a woolly mammoth found in the Denisova cave of a lion. And it is the oldest known animal figurine ever discovered, bearing some intricate notch ornaments and more. And it's pretty damn cool. A 45,000-year-old bit of art right there. There is also a cross-shaped underground structure buried deep that might be one of the world's oldest churches. We don't know anything about it, but it's cool. There is the island complex, a very old island that might have been a Manichaean monastery, not that old, but old enough and fascinating because it's real. And then, of course, you have the 30-foot by 30-foot structure built from mammoth jaws and skulls found in Kostenki. Nobody knows what it was for or why it was built, but it's there and it's real, which is fascinating. And that's cool. Now, what about the Ice Maiden? Well, in 1993, a 2,500-year-old mummified body of a woman was discovered in the Ukok Plateau in Siberia. Well, now, we all know that Siberia is not the warmest place in the world. So, absolutely. And she's important in that what she was doing there, what she had with her, she is reasonably well preserved. Which means there's a great deal that can be found out of history just from that. Um, it's absolutely true that she had a number of quite interesting tattoos, which is pretty damn cool. Who was she? No one knows yet. Maybe we'll find out one day. We also have the screw device. It looks like a screw, like you would find anywhere, or a nut. I would not call it a screw myself. I would call it a nut. It's more nut-like than screw-like, but it clearly looks like a machined metal object. The only problem is it's lodged into rock, which is weird, and it's apparently quite a few million years old. So where the heck did it come from, and how did a screw get there? It's not very big. The rock is estimated to be 300 million years old. How would there be a screw? Is it possible that it's a weird form of natural fossil? Maybe, but it appears metallic. If it's metallic, how could that be? A lot more needs to be done. Of course, naturally and automatically, one of the first things anybody said about it is, it's an alien artifact. Is it? I don't know. But naturally, that came up. I mean, sure. Now, the other interesting thing that turned up is not that old in terms of ancient archaeology, but it might be one of the world's oldest Christian churches in Europe. And they reckon it's around 300 years after Christ. It's 36 foot deep, built in a cross shape. There is a half-destroyed dome that goes over the top. It's now a UNESCO cultural heritage site, and it's protected, which means it can't be excavated, which is a problem. It could have been a Christian church. It could have been a Zoroastrian fire temple. We're not really sure. But nevertheless, the fact that it is there is fascinating. We know that they tried to get an idea of what it was using muon radiography. Basically uses cosmic rays, which are a kind of high-level radiation that comes from a source outside our solar system, but they constantly rain down on Earth, and most of the rays crash into the atoms of the upper atmosphere and don't make it through to the ground, but muon particles do. And they travel through matter at nearly the speed of light. But as they travel through denser objects, they lose energy and decay. So you can use them to calculate the density and create a picture of an object. So they put muon detectors around the structure and measured for 2 months. And they discovered that they could create a 3D image of what this property looked like, which is pretty damn cool, using natural science to the best. But unfortunately for us, their big comeback was from these really brilliant scientists. Currently, there are more questions than answers. So, yeah, we're not really so sure. They're not totally certain what they can say about this, other than the fact that it's really quite interesting, which is great. But what can we say about Russia? Mysterious archaeology. The Chandar slab, also known as the Dashka stone, found in the village in the South Urals in 1999, it appeared to be a detailed 3D map of the Urals region that could only have been done using aerial or satellite surveys. Canals, dams, dike, which coincide with the actual terrain, are marked on the map, and there are inscriptions in an unknown language. Initially, we believed the stone to be about 3,000 years old, but this got pushed back until we identified seashells inserted into the slab to mark certain locations. The shells in question are around 50 million years old. In the end, radiocarbon testing provided no clarity, and all they can be sure is it's too old for an exploration to be made of how was it made. It was found by accident as well, and apparently Churinov was studying city archives from Ufa that go back to the 18th century, and he came across references to these stone slabs. Initially, there were around 200 near the village of Chandar that were covered with inscriptions in a weird language. So he was interested, and he started doing more searching, and more mentions came up. And they said that 6 slabs were included in the list of monuments of nature, culture, and history in the Bashkir Republic. So he went on out and started looking for them. And he thought they must be huge, but he found nothing. Then, by chance, a local man approached the professor and said, I've got a stone by my house. And it turned out to be only 148 centimeters by 106 centimeters. And it proved to be what he was actually looking for. And it's made from the purest dolomite, which is not found in nature. So that was very strange. So they took it to the Moscow State University, and since then, of course, nothing else has been heard. Yay. Nevertheless, the jade rings of Baikal. In 2017, they found the remains of a man and woman near the strait between Lake Baikal and Okhorn Island. They were holding hands, and the man had a white jade ring in his eye socket. 3 more rings lay on his chest, and at the knees there was a small leather bag with metal implements of unknown purpose. There was a 13-centimeter jade knife found next to the skeleton of the woman. The couple lived during the Bronze Age, about 4,800 years ago. But what were the rings for? Because the same rings have been found in China and Japan, the oldest being 8,000 years old. They were probably used for rituals, but there's also a hypothesis that they were instrumental in bringing about a divide between races. Caucasoids chose gold as a symbol of worship, and the Mongoloids went for jade. Siberian researchers have a different theory. Jade rings are money, and only a small number of craftsmen in eastern Siberia could make them. So that made them valuable and hard to copy. But how did they produce such fine carving? Nobody knows. The next thing are the Istra axes, found in 2019 in the Istra district outside of Moscow. They found a necropolis of about 4,500 years old, round about the time that the Pyramid of Giza was built. Remains of the people of the Fachanovo culture lay in the burial ground. They were among the first cattle breeders and farmers on the Russian plain. According to tradition, they put stone battle axes in men's graves, and the axes attracted the attention because they were quite unusual. Unlike the other primitive items in the buried ground, the arrowheads, the knives, and so on, these ones were made not by hand. They look more like they are cast from metal, and even display seams that a casting would have left behind. So, how did something modern appear in something ancient? Well, nobody knows. Then, of course, the last thing to talk about is the Ryazan disc. It has no description. It's a metal chest piece from Ryazan. That's all. Nobody knows what it is. It's got concentric circles on an iron disc that came from the 4th century. Nobody knows what it is or why, but it has similar sort of style to the Antikythera mechanism that was found off the coast of Greece. Now, here's the thing. The Antikythera mechanism is a Greek mechanism that is used to predict celestial bodies and eclipses. Essentially, it's a kind of computer, except it comes from a time that couldn't have had that technology. This bears the same kind of markings, and again, nobody knows what it is or what it's for. And it's iron from a time where iron was not the thing. So, why? Very strange. But with all of that said, we have now reached the end of tonight. And I'm going to see if I can throw up the picture of a particularly awesome kit which I found. which is very much an older exorcism kit. Well, this is the reproduction of an older kit. Now, I draw your attention to the holy water, the Bible, the stole, which is the cloth thing a priest will wear, the rosary, the crucifix, salt, all the good parts. However, the bits that you didn't know that went into the older varieties of exorcisms was the rope that they used to tie the victim down with. This is no longer used in practice, but there was a time where, just in case, they tied the victim to the bed. And I think that's pretty damn cool. So that is where we have gone to. So with that said, placeholder, my dear friend, I don't know if you have any further comment you would like to add. Any questions, sir?
Have a good night, Bones.
There we go. You have a good night too. I don't know if anyone else has anything else they would like to say. There is a great deal that could be said. If anyone's got any questions, now is the time. Any comments? And of course, the other big question, which really does matter, does anybody...
Oh, I've got a question.
Yes, go for it.
Do you pray?
Do I pray? I'm going to tell you no, but I'm going to qualify why. I stopped general prayer, believe it or not, back when I was a monk. And here is the reason. Prayer is asking for things. And I studied with one guy who was possibly one of the best biblical scholars in the world for his time, an amazing priest, a Jesuit. And he said he never prayed. And I asked him why. And he said, properly, don't pray. Simply offer glory to God. Because when you start asking for things, who are you to demand from God? God will give you what you need when you need it. Simply give him glory. And I was told a similar thing in different ways when I met Mother Teresa, who told me much the same. Since then, I am no longer Christian. I am agnostic. So I think there may be a God, but you cannot know much about it. And I do not follow organized religion. And the reason I do not pray is because I do not think it is my place to interfere with him. And I must get on with the directive that I truly believe is the true directive of all of us on earth, which is to be as human as possible. Even in all of the major religions, it tells you you have no control over the afterlife or whether or not you will get into it. It is not your job nor your business. So don't think about it. Concentrate on the thing that you were instructed to care about, which is be human. Look after your fellow humans and be as good as a person as you can. That's what we are meant to do. And so that is my focus in life. And I don't think prayer necessarily will assist you, but doing good will. Not for reward, but for your own improvement. Does that make sense?
Well, you said you're agnostic.
Yes.
A person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or
No,
nature
not of
God.
the existence of. In other words, if you said to me, is there a creator God? I will say yes. But we can't know who it is.
Okay. And you said you were a monk, so you're no longer a monk.
I used to be a monk in the Catholic Church. I was one for 9 years. I've been trained as a Catholic priest. I served as a monk in a religious order. I have degrees in theology, philosophy, psychology, sociology, anthropology, and all of the ologies that you need for that kind of stuff. And I've worked in mission and been in the field. I worked alongside the exorcist for KZN back in the day. So, yes. And in case you do wonder, not only have I studied the Bible in its parts as one is appropriate for somebody studying as a priest, I have read it cover to cover 4 times, which almost nobody has if they aren't a biblical scholar. Try it one day, it's hard.
So, if you were a priest, why did you become agnostic?
Because I realized that people claimed too much about God that there was no basis for claiming, usually because it suited them, not because it was good. And I realized that organized religion does not improve anything, so I got out of it.
Okay, can you tell me about the tipping point?
Weirdly enough, it was when everybody kept going on that the important thing is heaven and going. And eventually I turned around and said, if heaven is so bloody good, why don't you go there now? Because we're here on earth for a reason. It's a lesson to us. Whoever sent us here, or whatever you believe in, we are meant to be here and be human. We are not meant to worry about the afterlife. It's not our business. It's not our job. That's God's business. Leave it to him. He knows what he's doing. He's better than us. Our job is here and now, which means you have to be human, not worry about the afterlife.
Okay, so what do you see the afterlife is?
I don't. I don't care. It's not my business. Nothing, all major religions will tell you, nothing you do will get you into heaven, be it good, be it bad. So forget about it. It's not your business. Here is your business. Were you a decent person? Did you live a life you can be proud of and say that I was human? Have you done things that you've looked back and said, geez, that was evil? Because if you think about it, all the major rules that apparently have been given in the holy books are all pretty much how to be human. They're not about the afterlife. So forget about the afterlife. It's not your job. This life is your job. Love your neighbor. Don't kill. Don't steal. Don't commit adultery. Those are human things for human living. Therefore, be human.
This is heaven and hell.
What is heaven and hell?
Where we are now, this realm is heaven and hell.
I don't believe that at all. Heaven and hell are constructs for the afterlife. They are not here. And until I'm dead, it's not my problem. This world is humanity. And in human world, we must be human and decent to each other and live a life that if I was questioned by anyone, be it God or whoever, I can say I lived and I did what I thought was right to be as good a person as I can. And more than that cannot be asked of you.
So, but you do think that your spirit will go someplace after you die?
I believe we have spirits. Where it goes or how it goes isn't my concern. I believe that in certain respects we are eternal, yes. But at the same time, we make too much of the spirit. It is only 1/3 of what makes up a human being. The body and the mind are as important while we are here. And therefore, that's our job. All three. Look after yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. All are important. But yes, I think that we are in certain ways eternal in that regard.
Yeah, no, that's not what I believe.
Okay. Do you think heaven and hell are here?
Well, Well, how you explained it, then I would say no. But how I see heaven and hell would be that, well, you said heaven and hell is not here, it's some different realm. I would say it's just wording, one meaning good, one meaning bad.
Okay,
And we live in a world of good and bad.
that is true. In certain respects, we are the makers of our own heaven and hell. That is true. But this is even actually, while I'm no longer Christian, it is referenced in the Bible that they speak of the making heaven on earth. Well, if everybody was Christ-like and lived really good lives and was good to each other and everything, this would be heaven on earth, would it not? And by argument, you could equally say if we all went completely crazy and did every evil thing we could to each other, that would be hell on earth. So, yes, in that sense, the creation of both is in the hands of people. That is true. You seem to be thinking very hard about that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. My brain's a bit foggy. It's getting late at night.
That is very true. It's hard to argue when you're a bit tired. But yes, it is a fair argument, and there are the problem really ultimately, which we cannot escape from, is that all of these things are based on faith. And the whole point of faith is that we don't actually know. There is no scientific hard proof I can take out of a box and show you. It's based on belief, hope, trust. So it's kind of hard to argue, isn't it? Is it wishful thinking? Is it somehow a truth? I don't know. But it's interesting. And it's certainly the kind of thing that we should debate and consider because I think it does matter in a great many ways. I don't know. It is what it is it not? And if it leads you to being a better person, then I say good. But if it leads you astray, then bad, I suppose. More than that, I guess we can't really say. Yeah, I don't know.
But we
I
live
can.
more in hell than we live in heaven.
I think if that were to be the case, it would be because we let ourselves. We make the world we live in to a certain degree. And if we allow the negative into our life, then yes, we live more in
Negative is
hell.
gonna find you. You can
But
be in the middle of nowhere and nobody is.
to a
People
certain
are gonna come and
degree,
find you
to a
and
certain
make your life a
degree,
living hell.
but so does good things. And in a way, I suppose the answer is no matter what happens, which bits do you celebrate? The good or the bad? Do you look at the candle that is burning or do you look at the darkness outside? Because even a
Oh,
small
but
candle,
candle's gonna
small,
run out.
so
Candle's
does
not gonna burn
life.
forever.
True, but while it is there, celebrate what is. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that
people
moment.
obviously celebrate good things. They don't celebrate the murder of people. Or some people
Ooh,
do.
I tell you what, we might not call it a celebration, but absolutely we celebrate the negative all the time. It's a human failing of note. Uh, have you never met that one person that loves to moan about how hard everything is? They're celebrating the negative. And you'll meet a person that no matter what goes on, they say things like, "Oh, but I found a flower today and a butterfly landed on my hand." And they're all happy. And you go, "But how can you be happy?" And they're like, "Well, there's good stuff. Yes, there's bad stuff. There will always be. Life is hard. This is true. I get up, my joints ache. Why? Because I'm getting old. It happens. Uh, One of my teeth falls out because I'm getting old. It happens. I could dwell on it, or I can enjoy the fact that, hey, you know what? I have a wife that loves me. I have an awesome family. Um, I'm still alive. I'm carrying on, man. It's a thing. And I can celebrate the good. Could it be better? Sure. Lots could be
Not
better.
everybody's got that privilege.
No, but we all have some privileges. And the one privilege that is the most important, as long as you have life, you have hope. And as long as you have hope, you can make an answer.
Well,
And
there are people that are suffering so much that they just wish they want to die.
there are, and to that I would say then, because I'm that sort of person and I'm a stubborn old bastard, you're going to let them win? All the people that said, yeah, you see, nah, sorry, I will come back no matter what. I'm a cockroach, and I will always be that. No matter what, there is always an answer. It's true.
So the people on X celebrating Charlie being shot, what do you make of them? Are they evil people or good people?
I, I make of I make of them as scared people. Because if your value in life relies on anybody else, then it's no value at all. Your value of yourself must rely on yourself. And if my value of myself is in me, you can say what you like. I don't care because your opinion don't matter. If my opinion of you matters so much that you become so afraid of me that you would literally try to shoot me uh, to protect your bubble, then my answer to you is that, firstly, your opinion of yourself was non existent, and secondly, you knew I was right. And that's not a nice thing to hear, but it's true. So that's why I like Charlie Kirk. His opinion of himself, whether he was right or wrong, his opinion of himself relied on himself. And he was not afraid to have somebody tell him he was wrong because his opinion came from his own self value, not from the relying on everybody else. And he truly believed he was right. And he did it not in a nasty way, but in a hard way, which people didn't like. Because if I jump up and down and swear at you and carry on, you can say, ah, but you see, we can't listen to him. Look how foul he is, which would be fair. But Charlie didn't do that. He just sat there and said, I believe in this and this, and here is why, and I will debate it, and you won't change my mind. And to be fair, nobody did.
Yeah.
He was a
Well, he was a good debater.
he was very good, and he was firm in his belief. And I think that by and large, at the end of the day, that made him stronger than any of his critics.
Well, he's still alive.
Well,
He's in hospital.
this is a bonus, and I wish him all the healing in the world because, if nothing else, it's shown us Not necessarily that he was right, but that there are a lot of people whose arguments don't hold water. And if we want to progress in a good way, we need to be able to actually think about what we're talking about and not just randomly spout. And most politics that we're seeing in the modern age are not based on rational debate or scientific reason. It's built up out of how people feel, which is no way to run a country. And I would further add that the biggest problem with politics in the world today is that it is run not because it is the leadership of the country, but because it is a business to make money. And that is its failure. And I think he pointed it out as well. And we're seeing the effects of being too nice to everybody all the time, all over the world, where now people are demanding so much from each other that some people are ending with nothing. When can I say that your rights are more important than my rights? Whose rights are more right? Hold on here. We need to come to an understanding of what rights are and the fact that everybody has forgotten that rights are the predicate of duties. And you have to do the duties to earn the rights. That being human is not an automatic. Human rights are the result of the human contract, which is developed between people, where I won't be nasty to you for as long as you are not nasty to me. When you break the human contract, you break your human rights. So when people talk about human rights of mass murderers in jail, they're talking rubbish. By committing the capital atrocity, they have voluntarily given up their human rights and deserve none. That is because the people who haven't broken the human contract have a right to those human rights over those that did break it. There are duties that support the rights, and if you won't do the duties, you don't get the rights. And that's all being shown. And that's why we need to go back. Whether or not it's Christian is debatable, but as Charlie Kirk has pointed out, if you don't have a decent moral grounding to your people, power leads to corruption. He's right. Whatever you choose as your moral grounding, it must be moral.
There are little few strong moral men.
Of course not. We are taught not to be in this day and age.
Not to be strong, not to be moral.
Absolutely. The other day, I opened the door for a woman I was screamed at for 15 minutes because who am I to try and pretend I'm better than a woman holding a door? Well, I was raised that be polite to an older woman, open the door for her because it's manners. It's not about me being better than her, it's about having respect. But what is respect? Nobody cares. I have rights and you will give me what I want. No. I mean,
To go back to your argument with being too kind to people, I mean, the next time that lady will give you a whole lot of shit because you didn't open the door.
absolutely. Right there. I mean, the current thing which confuses me to death is should we give all of this humanitarian aid and medical stuff and everything to illegal aliens? And I'm like, guys, you're focusing on the aliens part, but you're forgetting the illegal part. There are a great many aliens in a great many countries who are there legally that have a right to those services, but the illegal ones don't because they're illegal. They must leave. We don't care about them because they are not legal. It's the illegality. Right there. There's your answer. Why is it a debate?
Well, being illegal means you broke crime, and criminals should not have the same rights as non-criminals.
Exactly. And that to me is obvious. Criminal is criminal. And we are seeing the results of it all over the world where people do what they like and then shrug it off. I can remember a contemporary of my grandfather who was the mayor of one of the towns in England who resigned his position because somebody accused him of having an affair. The first thing he did was prove unequivocally that he did not have an affair at all, and it was a lie made up to get to him. And then he resigned, saying that nobody in a position like mayor should ever even have the thought of an aspersion like this cast against him. Okay, he had that much pride in the job. Nowadays, yeah, I did steal 40 billion, but haha, and okay, we'll let you off and you're still president. Excuse me, what? Where is our morality? Where is our honor? People have lost it, and therein is the problem. And you've got me talking politics, which should never happen in a life. And normally I never, ever, ever do. But yes, my answer to you is be good to yourself, be human, and everything else will follow naturally. And take the time to be happy. We often do not take the time to appreciate the little things that make the world worthwhile.
So why don't you talk about politics?
Because I am old school and have a number of opinions which will probably not be popular in the modern age. And generally, with a lot of people online, it would cause me to be burnt at the stake, the ground salted, etc., etc., because they don't like it, because it's offensive and it requires you to actually work.
Okay, so fear. You don't want to piss one of the groups up. Ah,
I just don't have the time to argue with the sort of people that will whine about it, that by and large um, barely have the mental capacity bigger than a rock, which are the usual ones that moan about it most on social media, which I know
yes,
sounds
people who do
unkind.
politics are very emotional people.
Yes, if it's proper rational debate with somebody who is intelligent and isn't going to just start screaming and bouncing around, sure, because you can learn a lot by proper debate. And I love a good debate, but not online for that exact reason. You just know it will go south. I mean, I've only been doing this for maybe 3 months, and just discussing about certain concepts, not promoting, not saying it's good, just talking about it has had people come onto the live accusing of being a Satanist and that I'm going to hell. And I'm like, you were only on 5 minutes. You've missed the whole point of the discussion. We were merely talking about what people believe around the world, and yet. So, yeah, I tend to take those people and ban them. I haven't got the time. I do these lives for people who are interested, who are curious, who would like to learn about different things. We're not saying they're good. We're not promoting anything. We're just saying that over history, these things have been believed and these things have not been understood. And we wonder who did build the pyramids or whatever, because it's interesting. And why not?
Well, you, people are going to be angry and upset with you no matter what you say.
To a fair degree, yes.
You're
But
not allowed to have your own opinions.
that is also true. But by and large, I think that the people I've got on this group are a pretty funky bunch. They're curious and they're open minded, and they're here just to hear interesting things. And that's good enough for me. There are people that like to hear a bit, and that's a decent thing.
So with politics, South African politics, do you think South Africa should turn into a socialist state?
It can't, as much as they might want it to. And I will tell you why. Because they have forgotten the nature of the youth of this country, which is fast becoming an issue in politics, because the younger generation don't mind working if they have the opportunity to get somewhere in life. And they're not interested in the old beliefs and the old arguments because they were never living through it and they don't care. They want a
There's not going to
chance.
be any work for them.
Well, then they will make their own, because that really is the one great thing about South Africa, is we have a tendency that when things get rough, we buckle down and make it work anyway. And we've proved that time and again throughout history. And it's worked. We make do. A boer
Well,
maak
not
'n plan,
everyone is
né?
like that. Only a very small majority of people are like that.
Mm, no more. That's the mistake of politics. I think more than you think are. And you're seeing it in a backlash against the government even now in a number of places um, among the youth, where they're saying, hey, we don't care what happened in the past. We're living in the present. And it's causing a bit of harshness for some of our exalted leadership. There are changes coming. I believe that. Keep an eye on it. It will be
I don't
good.
think democracy works in South Africa.
I don't know. I think it has to. I think we fall back to it, no matter how we try in other ways. Um, because ultimately, we all want to make something of things, and we're seeing how it's failing in countries where they got too hard line in too many ways. And they're getting sick of the fact that they were promised a future, and they see the leaders in BMWs while they still can't afford more than a loaf of bread a week. And they're like, yeah, you know what, huh? Is it?
But those leaders are in those positions because of democracy.
No, partly, but mostly because of hope. And right there, that hope was misplaced, and people are realizing it. If you watch the undercurrents, I was a journalist 20 years, and you watch the undercurrents, things are going to change, and probably in the next 5 years. That's my prediction. And
Lots is going to change.
it's going to be interesting.
The
And I
world
think
would
it's,
look like a completely different place in 5 years' time.
oh, absolutely. But I think it's going to be good for us. Everywhere else, I'm not so sure, because I see indicators in other places that it don't look so good for other countries. But
I
for
think it's
us,
going to be horrible for everyone. Everybody that's not a multimillionaire is going to suffer.
I'm going to say the other way around.
I'm guessing that people that are rich now are going to become super rich, and people that are poor is going to become super poor.
Not so sure about that. I think there's
They're
going to
not
be
going to
big
have any
changes.
jobs.
There's
There's going to
going,
be no jobs. AI is going to take every single job. And it's better to employ AI than employ a person.
in some ways, but there are other issues that are going to interfere with that. Watch the politics of war. And don't forget, the big money relies on America, and they are poised to drop. Just saying.
They are. Sorry, I didn't get that. You said they are?
poised to drop. If they don't
Well,
sort
Trump is
things
great.
out, well, yes, but they're fighting against him.
Well, they tried to assassinate him twice.
Exactly, which is a sure sign that maybe you should listen to what he's saying. But with all of that, you are correct. It is very late, and the debate of politics is best left off public platform. What do they say? You should never discuss religion or politics in an open environment, because that way leads to trouble. It's probably true. I do
Like what
both
happened to
far too
Charlie
often.
Kirk, because he was a big time Christian and he
Absolutely.
spoke a lot about politics. And today he
Exactly.
was shot.
There you go. But on the other hand, I do absolutely encourage you to have strong beliefs in both, just careful ones. But until then, it has been
You
an
get very
amazing.
little strong people, like Charlie Kirk, who's strong, and Donald Trump, who are strong
Absolutely.
men.
Absolutely. But my friend, it is very late, and I'm going to be closing everything up and toddling off because I've got to still do the downloads and everything after. So I'm going to keep it for tomorrow night, where there will be yet another live. Wait, tomorrow is Thursday. Ooh, no live on this channel tomorrow. Tomorrow is the live on the other channel. So we shall see what happens there. You can join me
You've
there
got
if
more
you
than
wish.
one
I
TikTok
have
account?
two. I do. This is for the weird and the wonderful supernatural, but I have another one, Black Bones 124. Go and find me there. Bare Bones Survival. I do survival stuff, and you're welcome to join me there to talk that. That Thursday night, 10 o'clock.
Survival stuff.
Yes, always good to know how to survive.
Okay, you talk about different gear and stuff.
All sorts of things. I have a different view to the American view of how it's supposed to go, which I've started to explain on the lives. I think my way works better. It works for me because it's designed for a civilian, not a soldier. Because soldier stuff is great if you're a soldier, but it don't work for civilians because there's a
Well,
different
it sounds
setting.
interesting. I'll definitely check it out.
Absolutely, you're more than welcome. But until then, everybody, I will close the way I always close. I bid you a good night. Sleep well, sleep deep, and sleep sweet, but sleep with one eye open, and perhaps keep that holy object near on hand, because you never know. There are many things out there that go bump in the night, and we would be very concerned that they might go bump for you. Good night.
Yeah.
Good night, placeholder.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.